Sup? How y'all doing? It's a new week. We finished a book. We got Genesis done. That's exciting. This shows, I kind of didn't really prepare that much, but I guess I don't really need to prepare. We finished the book of Genesis. I didn't really feel like, I don't even know what prepare even means. We're just here talking about the books. I did make a slide, so yeah, I guess I did prepare, but I didn't really think about what I was going to say. I could tell you how my week went. Man, this past week has been really slow, honestly, if I really think about it. I've been dealing with a hurt back. I golfed Saturday, and of course I'm going to talk about it, Ben. I'm sorry, but I have to talk about it. It's hilarious. Ben doesn't even watch this anyway, but probably the worst day of golf I've ever had, honestly, and that because of my terrible score, because that happens every day. But I'm at, where am I? Seneca, and I'm on the chip and green, and just kind of getting my chipping game going because it blows, and out of nowhere, I just feel my back just slowly want to tighten up, and I just kind of stood there for a second. I was chipping, and I was going to my ball, and I'm walking, and I just slightly feel it, like, just sort of tighten up, and I just stood there. Like, I just stood there still as possible. Man, I'm sure you've been there before because you didn't want to. Never mind. And I was just standing there. If I don't move, then maybe it won't twitch out. And then I stop, and it chills, and I take another step, and there it goes. It's out. And so I've been dealing with that since Saturday. But that wasn't even the worst part. Like, I throw my back out all the time, and honestly, it's the worst thing in the world. But I also got hit by a golf ball with a 3-wood on my tricep right here, like right under my tricep. Like, I had a second tricep right under it. And it's not my fault at all. I'm trying to help a friend find a ball, and we couldn't find it, so he takes a drop right behind me, and I am left of him probably 30 yards, and he just line drives the ball right into my arm. So also dealt with that. So the worst golf day in history. So yeah. Let's see. What else? I guess part of the reason why I wanted to read Genesis, but honestly, like, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I sort of need a break, and I think that's good because we're going to start something new. And then we're going to go back. We're going to start a new book, and then we're going to go back to Exodus. And then we're going to read a book that kind of relates to Exodus. Like this book that we're going to start now relates to Genesis. So this is the book, actually. It's called Sapiens, A Brief History of Mankind. And it's a New York Times bestseller. It's by Yuval Noah Harari. And I asked Grok, actually, if you don't mind, asked him to just kind of, him or her, my little fairy that's in my phone, that gives me all the answers to everything. I asked it to give me a brief synopsis of Sapiens. So I'll read it to you guys, and we'll start there, because I don't think that you can find all of the answers to the universe in one book. I mean, some people say you could, especially if it's the Bible, but I think that we've got plenty of books to read to find the answers that I'm looking for. And I have a lot of questions. So we'll dive in. I thought about just doing the whole Bible, but like I said, I've read the Old Testament. I'm reading the New Testament, and now we're back at the Old Testament. And I don't want to wear myself out. Like, I'm not worn out. Like, I'm not completely like over it, if that makes sense. I'm not like I'm not completely burnt out. And if anybody knows me, I burn out pretty quickly. So that's not what I want to do. So we're just going to we're going to take like 6 episodes, and we're going to start with this book. You can get this book for free, actually. There's a website, and I'll post it on the discussion page, where you can download books from like a national library website. And like I said, it's free. You can stick it on your iPad, and just put it in your books, and you can read it basically just like a book. And also, if you have Spotify, and you pay for the service, the premium service, they have audiobooks, and I think this is one of the books that they have, so you can follow along. So you really you're not even any money out if you want to keep reading. And if you don't want to do that, 6 weeks down the road, we'll start Exodus again, and hopefully by then we start having more ideas, and this thing starts to become more fun rather than I don't know, reading the summaries and stuff like that. We've got a pretty short summary. Last week's summary was insane, really long, which was okay, but this one's not as long, and it's over the whole book of Genesis. Ooh, I know what else I wanted to talk about too. Saw a couple movies this week, which just one of the movies I saw for the first time was the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I've never seen it. I wasn't allowed to watch scary movies as a kid, so that was all of them just slipped through the cracks. So now I'm watching them, and that one is probably that's one of my favorite movies, might be of all time, like especially when it comes to horror. Like, it's definitely top 20, 100% top 20 movie. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I could easily say that. I don't know about top 10. I'd have to make the list to find that out, but you'd be up there with Forrest Gump and Alien and all that stuff. So maybe we'll make a list one day and we'll talk about it. That'd be fun. Yeah, saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Me and Cassie, we're in our bed, and we're doing the thing that we love the best, which is just lay there and relax in the dark with a candle lit, watching a movie, watching Netflix. Yeah, that's heaven on earth for me. That's one of my favorite things to do. And it is my favorite thing to do. And that was the movie that I picked. And it's 1971, and I swear I'm just sitting there watching this movie, and just living in 1971 had to be scary. I couldn't imagine not having a cell phone and, having this beat up hoopty car, driving down backwoods Texas and running out of gas and going to a gas station and they ain't got no gas, so you just kind of leave, and then you're out in the middle of nowhere in the dark with no phone, no nothing. That's scary as shit. And Leatherface didn't even have to come out for me to get anxiety about what's going on, because I never really thought about how reliant we are on technology and all of that stuff until I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which again is a masterpiece. So we started watching Monster, the Ed Gein story, and it's pretty good. It's not bad. It's cool to see. I guess what made me really want to watch that movie was the schizophrenia aspect of it. I have a lot of experience with that, and with family members, and it always fascinates me. So I wanted to check that out. I'm sure the book is great. I think it'd be really cool, actually. I think one of the ideas that I've been messing around with is like during Halloween, maybe next Halloween, we do like a scary book, like something something a little more something risque, which I think all of these books are honestly risque. I think the Bible is risque. I think the Sapiens book is going to be risque to the people that don't think the Bible is risque, and I think that's kind of the idea. Like, I want to I've got all of these hard questions, and I want to expand on them with everybody, because I think honestly, like, everybody has hard questions that they want answered, and they're not looking for the answers, and that's exactly what I want to do. I want to look for the answers. I want my daughters to be able to come back and watch this anytime they want, and listen, and one day I'm going to be gone, and I think it'd be cool, maybe if they wanted to check this out and watch it. So yeah, I've heard questions about why am I doing this, and what's the deal with this, and this is part of it. Starting the Bible and then doing something else that kind of not necessarily argues it, but it goes against the grain of the Bible and its purpose. So yeah, this is part of why, this is a big reason of why I'm doing this, is to switch it up. And I've asked Grok. This is actually what Grok recommended when I asked it for something that is like Genesis, but different, I guess, in the easiest way possible. So here's a synopsis. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari, which I hope I got that right, is a best-selling book that traces the history of Homo sapiens from the origins to the modern era. It explores how our species evolved and came to dominate the planet through key developments. Cognitive revolution, which was 70,000 years ago. Harari argues that the development of language and shared myths allowed Homo sapiens to cooperate in large groups, distinguishing them from their other species. This enabled complex societies and cultural advancements. Agricultural revolution, which was 10,000 years ago. The shift from foraging to farming led to permanent settlements, population growth, and social hierarchy, but also brought challenges like diseases and inequality. Unification of humankind. Over time, shared systems like money, religion, and empires unified diverse groups, creating global networks of trade and culture. Scientific revolution. Advances in science and technology. This is 500 years ago. Advances in science and technology fueled exploration, industrialization, and modern societies, reshaping economies and power dynamics. Harari examines how these milestones shaped human societies, economies, and cultures, while also exploring the impact of sapiens on the environment of other species. The book blends history, biology, and anthropology to offer insights into what makes humans unique and the challenges we face today, such as ecological crises and technological advancements. It's a thought-provoking narrative and questions humanity's past, present, and future. So yeah, there's Sapiens in a nutshell. So if you'd like to follow along, I guess this is also, this was never going to be a Bible thing. This was never supposed to be just the Bible thing. We were going to always do these books. I just think that it was going to take a real long time to do that. So we'll just be a little more patient with finishing the Bible, and we'll have a bunch of different stuff. So, after this, we'll read Exodus and really try to get that in our head and learn that stuff. And then we'll start another book. There was a book I actually looked at Exodus, like I said, and it's got a good one as well. So I'm excited to see what Grok has to show for us. It's exciting to, for each book we have a different book that is different. I'm rambling, sorry. Let's see. We can get started. Another thing too, last thing, I know we was going to get started, and I always do that. I guess it wouldn't be, I want to let you guys know I guess, keep you updated with personally what I'm reading. Right now I'm on the New Testament, and I just finished Acts and Romans. And I think Romans is my favorite book of the Bible as of this moment. Well, it's up there anyway with Job and Ecclesiastes, which I've mentioned before. Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to give you guys an update on that one too. It's almost done. It's important. It's a great book. Yes, baby. You can come give me a hug and a kiss. I'm already doing my stuff. Come on. Give me kisses. Come on.
Are you going right now?
Yeah. At the moment, we're right in the middle of it. You're broing right into the camera.
Bro.
What? Should have got here early. Come on, give me hugs and kisses.
Oh my gosh.
I know, I'm sorry.
Bro, mommy's not doing it.
What? Hurry up and get in the bed, and I'll run up there and give you hugs and kisses and tuck you in. Hurry up.
Better not be rushed.
Oh, it's going to be... It better not be rushed. I gotta go tuck that bad kid in. I'm just joking. She's not bad. But she's bad. I gotta go tuck her in. I'll give her a couple minutes, get in that bed, and I will not rush. I'm not gonna rush with tucking my baby in. It's one of these. I don't get to tuck Haley in anymore, so I need to cherish my tuck-ins. So I apologize for bouncing for just a second, but I am going to bounce. Whenever we get back, I will just, I'm going to just cut that out whenever we actually do a real video and I put it on YouTube and stuff. We'll still give her a minute. So yeah, doing Romans, almost finished. The books are starting to get shorter and shorter. And then I'll be done with the Bible, which is crazy and has been a long journey since January, and now I'm in church. That's something completely new. The Bible really, honestly, like, it accidentally changed my life, and I think I've said that before, but I want to say that again. Like, it was an accident for all of this stuff to really happen. Like, I just wanted to read it. I wanted to understand my father more. That's one of the reasons I started that book and the psychology book, to understand my father a little bit more. Dealing with him, that's a blast. That's a conversation when he's gone. I'd love to tell you the story about my father. I'm just joking. No, I'm not joking. I'm saying that because I am saying shit that I shouldn't be saying right now. But yeah, one day we'll probably talk about it. I'm going to go tuck her in. I'll be back. I told myself when I started this, I said that this was not going to get in the way of my children, so I went and tucked them in and turned the TV off in the girls' room. They were already asleep. They had a busy day today. They had field trips. I went with Claire today to, what is that, Shady Lane Farm in Mount Washington. That was nice. It was a nice little farm. All right, I've talked enough. Let's go ahead and we'll get started on Genesis, and we'll finish that up, because hopefully I do a better job than whenever we started, because I feel like I didn't do a good job, and I think that we'll probably keep doing we'll keep, like, whenever we finish Exodus, we probably will go through the whole story of Exodus. It's good for us. It's good to kind of just tap it into the brain, and that's what we want to do. We want to retain the knowledge. It's really dumb to just read a book and then so what a waste of time to read and not retain the knowledge. And I think I do that a lot when I read. I don't want to do that anymore. It's one of the reasons why I started this. Dumb Man's Book Club. Join it on YouTube. So here we go. Here's the overview of Genesis. The author, traditionally attributed to Moses, though modern scholarship debates this. The date is likely written during or after the Exodus period, circa 1440 to 1400 BCE or later, depending on dating. I would like to remember that year, especially when it comes to reading Sapiens. You have questions, that's Genesis was written 1440 to 1400 years. One of the problems that I have with the Bible is, and really, I guess, honestly, and it doesn't really, when you really boil it down to all of it, it doesn't matter when it was written. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, if it's 6,000 to 10,000 years ago, I understand, but it doesn't matter when it was written. Honestly, like the things that they're trying to preach in the New Testament, the things that they're trying to teach you, the dates don't matter. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to know what was going on in 1400 BCE. In somebody else's point of view, in science's point of view, I guess. And maybe that'll kind of connect a little more for me. The purpose: to narrate the creation of the world, the origins of humanity, the fall into sin, and the establishment of God's covenant with Abraham and his descendants, setting the stage for the story of Israel. The structure: Genesis is divided into two main sections. The primeval history, which I guess I don't know what primeval means. I watched that show, Primeval America, or whatever that was, and that was, I guess I don't know what that means. Primeval history, chapters 1 through 11, creation, the fall, the flood, and the Tower of Babel. And then the patriarchal history, the stories of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. I did see that there was a chapter in Sapiens about Adam and Eve. And that will be one of the things that we will discuss next week whenever we talk about, I think it's like the first 80 pages of Sapiens. The key themes and theological insights of Genesis. God as creator. Genesis established God as the sole creator, emphasizing his power, order, and goodness. Let's see, what was I gonna say? Let's go ahead and just spit it out. I can't just have thoughts in my head and not just let it out. It's Genesis establishes God as the sole creator. Yeah, okay, emphasizing his power, order, and goodness. When I think about God, I think of the whole universe, everything. I guess I don't know if what you would call that. But I think the universe is, I think it's intelligent. I think it's, in some ways it could be sentient. And I think that I don't know, man. I don't know what I think, honestly. I'm still trying to put my finger on what I think God could be. And I guess I stumble on my words because I still just don't know, and I want to know, and I don't. So it drives me crazy. So yeah, as the sole creator, the universe, all of this stuff was created by the universe. So I guess that's kind of where that comes from, and the shortest way of putting it. Humanity's role, created in God's image. Well, there you go. I guess he looks like us. Humans are called to steward creation, but fall into sin, disrupting the relationship with God. Number three, the covenant. God's promises to Abraham, land, descendants, and blessings shapes the narrative and point to his faithfulness. Sin and redemption. Sin enters through disobedience, but God provides hope. I guess examples is Genesis 3:15, Noah's Ark, and Abraham's faith. God's providence, even in human failure, God works for good. Joseph's betrayal. Yeah, a lot of what this book is trying to teach you is that nobody is perfect, and he who is without sin cast the first stone type of stuff, and man, if everybody just sort of lived like that, things would be so much better. And that's all I got to say about that. And my best Forrest Gump top 10 movies ever. Genesis 1 through 11, primeval history. Chapter 1 through 2 was the creation of the world in 6 days. God rests on the seventh, and Adam and Eve are placed in the Garden of Eden. Chapter 3 is the fall, which is Adam and Eve disobey God, eat the forbidden fruit, and face consequences. Chapter 4, no, it isn't the first sin, because I guess the first one was, this is the first sin, because Cain kills Abel, which I got to try to remember that. That's one of the things that I want to remember when it comes to the Bible is who killed who. That's important. So this is the first sin, and we're going to see a lot of, basically, Cain and Abel is like the very first of what Israel is going to be. So Cain kills Abel. God curses Cain, but protects him. Cain's descendants are listed. Genealogy from Adam to Noah, chapter 5. The genealogy from Adam to Noah, emphasizing human mortality. Chapter 6 through 9, the flood. Noah builds an ark. God destroys the wicked but spares Noah's family. God makes a covenant with Noah, which is the rainbow as a sign. Chapter 10, the table of nations, descendants of Noah's sons. Chapter 11, the Tower of Babel. Humanity's pride leads to language, confusion, and scattering. The genealogy from Shem to Abram. Chapter 12 through 50, chapter 12 through 25, Abraham's story. God calls Abram, promises land, descendants, and blessings. Key events, the covenant with God, Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction, which that was one that I completely just glossed over whenever we first talked about Sodom and Gomorrah, which let's see if I can remember that, because I had no idea what that story was the first time go around. So Sodom and Gomorrah, those were two different cities that were completely corrupt and, almost completely corrupt. And God was going to destroy it. And I think it was, I don't remember if it was Abraham or not who argued with God about, even if there's 10 good people there, will you still destroy the city? And God, basically he has that argument back and forth, and and God says that he will not destroy the city if there are 10 good people there. And that was one of my, it sucks that I glossed over that, because that was one of my favorite parts, is that you can argue with God and he doesn't smite thee right then and there. You can have a conversation with him, and you can have an argument with him, and you can be disappointed with him, and you can be, not happy with God, and he still loves you. And that's a good, that makes you feel good. I guess because I am going on this journey and trying to figure out what's going on and what is real and what is not, and whatever. And like I said already, the book has changed my life. I'll never see life I just see life in a completely different aspect after starting the book. And it's been good, and it makes you feel good, and it just gives you hope. Hope is nice to have, and it gives you a good outlook on life. Like, I'm done with trying to be perfect. I want to practice being nice more than anything. Like, I don't care about being a perfect person, because I'm not a perfect person, and it shows. Like, there's a book that was written 2,000 years ago that tells you that you're not a perfect person, and, there's still hope for you, and that's all we could ever ask for. So instead of being perfect, I just want to practice being nice. Like, that's it. I just want to be a nice person. I want to be as Christ-like as possible. And, maybe I was never, in the traditional sense, taught these things. And I guess now I'm trying to figure those things out as a 40-year-old man. So yeah. Let's see. Where are we? Sodom and Gomorrah, and we're still talking about. So yeah, they had the argument back and forth about destroying the cities, and there is somebody down there that they want to get. Somebody's brother or somebody's cousin that they want to get. I can't remember which ones it was, and I'm not even going to worry about which ones it is. There were some angels that were there that were helping, and the people of either Sodom or Gomorrah wanted to do nasty things with these angels, and they blinded them and got out of there, and God was going to destroy the city. And I feel like it was Isaac now, and Rachel was the one. No, Rachel wasn't the one. I don't remember, but one of the wives looked back and got turned into a pillar of salt. And that was that. I don't really know the moral of that story. That's something that I would like to know. And you know what? Let's do that. Let's just try to figure out. Let's get what the story. We have Grok. We might as well use it. What's brief? Let's see. What should I type? Brief synopsis of Sodom and Gomorrah. And what is the purpose of the story? Of whoever's wife turning into a salt. Let's see what it says. Oh, quick answer. Sorry, guys. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah, found in Genesis 18 through 19 of the Bible, describes two cities destroyed by God for their extreme wickedness and immorality. Purpose of life. Her transformation serves as a divine consequence for disobedience and attachment to a sinful past. It symbolizes the danger of longing for or clinging to a corrupt life when offered salvation. The act underscores the seriousness of heeding divine warnings and immediacy of judgment. That's hardcore. That's a hardcore lesson to learn. We'll finish up. Chapter 26 through 27, Isaac's life. God renews the covenant. Isaac deceives Abimelech. Jacob steals Esau's blessing. 28 through 36, Jacob's story. Jacob's dream of the ladder, marriage to Leah and Rachel, wrestling with God, the reconciliation with Esau. His name becomes Israel. Chapter 37 through 50, Joseph's story, sold into slavery, rises to power in Egypt, interprets Pharaoh's dreams, and saves his family during famine. Jacob blesses his son. I shouldn't have read this because I got to do this part. Or is that the questions for all of it? Is these just the questions? These are just the questions. Cool. So that was basically all of it. Jacob blesses his sons and Joseph dies. So that's the end of Genesis. Yay! We finished a book of the Bible. That's fun. Let's figure out. I did some questions. I feel like these are good. I feel like these help just get a better to get a better understanding of the story. What does the creation account reveal about God's character and his relationship with humanity? And how does Genesis 2 complement Genesis 1 in describing humanity's purpose? The creation account shows God as sovereign, powerful, and intentional, creating an orderly and good world. His character is revealed as loving and relational as he creates human in his image to have fellowship with him and his steward creation. God's provision of the garden and instructions to Adam and Eve reflect his desire for a trusting, obedient relationship with humanity. Well, he's not that intentional because they still ate the apple. Was that intentional? Did he intend for them to eat the apple? I don't think he did. So I disagree. Genesis 1 provides a broad overview of creation, emphasizing humanity's role as image bearers with dominion over the earth. Genesis 2 zooms in on the intimate relationship between God, Adam, and Eve, highlighting their purpose to work and care for the garden and to live in communion with God and each other. Together, they show humanity's dual role, ruling creation and maintaining a personal relationship with God. And they already mess it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, the very beginning of the Bible is humans messing up being humans and not being perfect. And it's, that's the reoccurring thing with the book. Like, people are not going to be perfect, and he still just has our back. And that's a good way to put it. He has our back. Like, even when you feel like nobody has your back, you can at least rely on God. And you whatever that God is, whatever is as insignificant as it could be to you, at least you could rely and hang on something like that. And that's a good feeling. Question 2, the fall, chapter 3. Then there's not a lot of these questions, I don't think. I don't know why I'm looking. I should just keep going. This is my insecurities talking to you right now. Question 2, the fall, chapter 3. How do Adam and Eve's action reflect human tendencies today? What is the significance of Genesis 3:15 and the broader biblical narrative? Adam and Eve's disobedience stems from doubting God's goodness, desiring autonomy, and succumbing to temptation. This mirrors modern human tendencies to prioritize self-interests, question authority, or seek knowledge and power apart from God. Well, hell. If that isn't what I'm doing right now with that book right there, then I don't know what is. So, yeah, this is me kind of going against the grain of religion. Like, this is, I don't know, maybe this is something that you don't do and that's kind of how I feel. Like, this, I feel like nobody's doing this. Maybe it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, apparently. That's how I see it when it comes to the Bible. Their blame shifting reflects our inclination to avoid responsibility for sin. Yeah, and that's why I read the Bible. That's one of the reasons why I did this, is because I am a person that avoids responsibility for sin, and I want to be better at that. So these are why I love these answers. I like to be able to come back to that with you guys and sort of figure things out. Like, you read that and then it just clicks for you. Like, things just start to click. And this is the click club is what this is. Like, I want things to click for me every time I do this. I was really excited to do this week. Usually I'm completely nervous. Genesis 3:15, often called the proto-evangelium. I'm going to try to say that word again. Proto-evangelium, first gospel, foreshadows the conflict between Satan, the serpent, and humanity, culminating in a descendant of the woman who will crush the serpent's head. This is widely interpreted as prophecy of Jesus Christ, who defeats Satan through his death and resurrection. It introduces the themes of redemption early in the scripture. I saw that Romans 16:20. I'd like to read that because I just finished Romans, and I'd like to know. I would like to check that out. So if you don't mind, bear with me. I don't think anybody's here anyway, so just bear with me for a second, and we'll read that passage. So the 16 through 20. No, chapter 16, verse 20. The God of peace will soon crush Satan. The God of peace will soon crush Satan under your feet. The grace of our Lord Jesus be with you. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't know what 3:15. Let's see, Genesis 3:15. I guess you can't read one without the other, huh? So Genesis 3. So titillating, guys. I'm so sorry. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Talking to the serpent. Yeah, okay. I see it. It's crazy because when you read the Old Testament, like, you hear the things that the prophets are saying, and then whenever you get into the New Testament and Jesus is preaching those things and teaching those things, he goes back to those. He goes back to that a lot and just shows the prophecy of Jesus Christ in his life and death. Question 3, Noah and the flood, chapter 6 through 9. Why does God judge the world, and how does he show mercy? What does the rainbow covenant signify about God's promise? I would answer these for y'all, but I would just be sitting here being like, so we're just going to read them out. God judges the world because of widespread human wickedness and corruption. The flood is a response to sin's pervasiveness, yet God shows mercy by sparing Noah, a righteous man, and his family. He preserves life through the ark and establishes a covenant with Noah, demonstrating his commitment to creation despite human failure. I did it again. I started reading and I just started thinking about something else. I wasn't even there when I read that to you. So let's do that again. I apologize. God judges the world because of widespread human wickedness and corruption. The flood is a response to sin's pervasiveness. Yeah. And the craziest thing that one of the things that is just confusing to me is you have all of this stuff about the wickedness that's going on in the world, and you don't even put Noah's great grandfather's book in there, the Book of Enoch, which talks more about the Nephilim and how they got here and what they are and all that stuff. But it's just not a part of the book because some people say that it's not a part of the book. Like, who said that? Why would I don't. This is the part where it's just like humans get involved with things and it just makes things ugly and murky. But there it is, though. You can read that book. You can read the Book of Enoch. It's out. You can read it, and you can see the story of his great-grandfather and what that's about and what that wickedness is that he's talking about. Because when you read the Bible, you don't a couple people have done stuff, but how wicked truly is it? And I guess the Book of Enoch sort of gives you a better idea of how wicked that is and why the flood happens. The flood is a response to sin's pervasiveness, yet God shows mercy by sparing Noah, a righteous man, and his family. He preserves life through the ark and establishes a covenant with Noah. Yeah. The rainbow is a sign of God's covenant with Noah, promising never again to destroy the earth with a flood. It signifies God's mercy, faithfulness, and commitment to sustaining creation, assuring humanity of his restraint and grace despite ongoing sin. Abraham's faith, chapter 12 through 22. How does Abraham demonstrate faith, and where does he falter? What can we learn from the near sacrifice of Isaac? Abraham almost sacrifices his son, his only son, to God, and that's what gives him the street cred from God to become the father of all nations, which is the father of all, which was the father of the big three religions as well, which is Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, which I've learned on this journey. So how does Abraham demonstrate faith, and where does he falter? What can we learn from the near sacrifice of Isaac? Abraham demonstrates faith by obeying God's call to leave his homeland, trusting God's promise of descendants despite Sarah's barrenness, and being willing to sacrifice Isaac. He falters by lying about Sarah to protect himself and taking Hagar to produce a heir, showing moments of doubt in God's timing and protection. So the story was about Abraham kind of taking things in his own hands and not letting it be in God's hands, until finally God asks him to sacrifice his son, and he goes and he's about to do it, and that's what makes him the father of these nations. The near sacrifice of Isaac, the Akedah, I don't know what that is, teaches trust in God's provision and obedience even when his commandments seem incomprehensible. Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his promised son shows ultimate faith in God's provision of a ram, foreshadowing his redemptive plan, Christ as the substitute. It also underscores God's faithfulness to his covenant promise. I would like to know what that word is. I've never seen it. What is the Akedah? I should do this on the computer. I have it pulled up. Oh my God. Alicia? No. What is Akedah? Let's see what it says. Quick answer. God, I need to turn that off. The Akedah, also known as the binding of Isaac, is a pivotal narrative in the Hebrew Bible found in Genesis 22, 1 through 19. It describes God's command to Abraham to sacrifice his son as a test of faith. In Jewish traditions, the Akedah is a profound example of Abraham's unwavering trust in God and is often read during Rosh Hashanah. All right. Almost done, guys. We only had 6 more pages. Question 5, Jacob and Joseph. How does God transform Jacob's character over time? And how does Joseph's story illustrate God's sovereignty in the face of evil? Jacob begins as a deceiver, manipulating Esau for the birthright and blessing. Through trials... I just got a text message, sorry. Jacob begins as a deceiver, manipulating Esau for the birthright and blessing. Through trials, fleeing Esau, serving Laban, and wrestling with God, he matures into Israel, a man humbled and reliant on God. His transformation reflects God's patience and grace in shaping flawed individuals for his purpose. Joseph's story shows God turning human evil. His brother betrayal, his slavery, imprisonment, into good. God uses Joseph's rise to power in Egypt to preserve his family and fulfill the covenant with Abraham. This illustrates God's ability to orchestrate events for his redemptive purposes, even through suffering. And the last question. And then, we have, after this, we have the facts that I would like to do. I never really got to do any of those, and it'd be cool to read some of the facts about the book of Genesis and maybe talk about it through there. So question 6, overall, what is the central message of the book of Genesis and why does it matter? I like the little comic book. I thought that was a fun little addition. What is that? Adult supervision recommended for minors. Let's see. Did I even get the answer? Look at this. Oh, that's a long message. Bear with me, guys. We'll go through this whole thing. The central message of the book of Genesis is that God is the sovereign creator who establishes a purposeful relationship with humanity, initiates a covenant to redeem a fallen world, and works through flawed individuals to accomplish his divine plan. Genesis matters because it lays the foundation for understanding the origin of the world, human nature, sin, and God's redemptive promises, which resonates across the Bible and human history. I'm just going to flat out say it. I just don't believe I just don't believe Genesis. It just doesn't. I'm going to, like, I've been tiptoeing it all the whole time, and it's just, I don't believe it. That's how I feel. That doesn't mean that I don't think that that it doesn't relate to what actually happened. I just think that it's just a dumbed down story of how the universe was actually created. I don't believe that it was made 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. I don't even know. How can we say that? We can't say it. There's too. I guess we'll figure out in here if this is, I don't know what the theories are, but we keep finding skulls of, people long before us, and it was way before that time. So I think we're wrong when it comes to the time periods. I think that we don't take into account all of the other stuff that was going on in between all of that stuff that just turned it into, like, it's just the tip of the iceberg and all the other stuff is underwater. That's what the book of Genesis is. So that's how that's how it makes how am I even trying to say this? That's how it makes the Bible make sense. Is that what that means? Is that how it makes the Bible make more sense when you look at it as just this beautiful, simple story of what actually happened. I don't want to criticize people, negatively for thinking that way, but I just think that you're relying on too much. You're relying on, and honestly, I think when you rely on something like that, it just kind of it makes you look foolish. It makes you, and I apologize for saying that. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that you are dumb. I mean that as it just looks foolish to take this book and take everything that you read in that book, even when it comes to adding up all of the genealogies of the people that are in that book, and just not at least taking it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? Like, it was too long ago. It was written too long ago. We know that other things have happened. We have to trust the science a little bit. I mean, not when it comes to, things that they've done here recently, and I won't even get into that. But, trust the science just a tad, because you just see it for what it is, and see it as just a beautiful, simple story of a complex scientific experiment that is going on right now and put us to where we are today. That's the best way that I can explain this. And I apologize for tiptoeing around it, but it is what it is. That's just how I feel. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in a God. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in Jesus. I will find out if that man is a real person. I will have that decision made one day, and you can't do it just sitting around waiting for the answers to come to you. You have to go and search for them. So that's what we're doing. Creation and God's sovereignty. Genesis opens with God's creation. Genesis opens with God creating an orderly, good world, establishing His authority in it. I feel like I just read this. Why it matters. Yeah. Let's just go to the why it matters part. I feel like we've just read all this stuff. No, I made this, so we're just gonna read it. I apologize. Humanity's role and fall. Humans made in God's no. We're on the I'm so sorry, guys. Creation and God's sovereignty. My goodness. Jesus opens with God creating an orderly, good world, establishing His authority and intentional design. Calm down. Calm down there when it comes to using the word intentional, and then you get what you get. This sets the stage for His ongoing control over history, seen in stories like Joseph's rise in Egypt. Humanity's role and fall. Humans made in God's image are called to steward creation but fall into sin. Can we talk about God's image? Like, what do you think that could actually mean? Let's grok it. What does God making man in His image mean? The phrase God making man in His image comes from the Bible, specifically Genesis 1:26-27, where it says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness." So God created man in His own image, the spiritual likeness. Many interpretations suggest that being made in God's image refers to humans having spiritual qualities that reflect God's nature. This might include capacities like reason, creativity, moral awareness, free will, or the ability to form relationships. Unlike animals, humans are seen as having a unique connection to God, capable of understanding and responding to divine purpose. Moral and ethical capacity. The image often implies the ability to discern right from wrong, act justly, and exhibit virtues like love, compassion, and forgiveness, which are seen as reflective of God's character. That makes a lot of sense. I understand that. It's not really about God's image as in like what He looks like. So that's, and this is Grok's point of view, and I understand that, and I know that Grok is just a thing that compiles everything up on the internet and probably has some kind of control by human and all that stuff. There's a lot of this stuff though. I don't see it literal versus figurative. I think this is what I want. The phrase is generally understood metaphorically, not as God having a physical body that humans resemble. Most traditions reject literal physical interpretations, focusing on instead of spiritual or functional qualities. I'm just going to read the last 4 to you because honestly, that it puts it in such a better perspective when you read it like that. And that's the whole thing that I'm trying to tell you. Like, don't take everything in the book so literal, because when you do, it makes you, it just doesn't help your argument. It doesn't help your argument. It doesn't, when people don't want to hear bullshit. And when you try to tell them a story like that and try to say that that you have to believe the book word for word, then it just flies right over our head. So I take it with a grain of salt. Understand that everything is not literal. And you can't take it literal because this was written by man. Like, this was written by primitive man. Like, we were primitive when we got to this country. Like, I wouldn't believe, I wouldn't believe anything that anybody says from back then, from 400 years ago. Those people were primitive. So again, No, not again. I'm not drilling it into your heads. Dominion and responsibility. Where'd my thing go? It just went away. We'll just go back to... what did that call it? Hold on. They called it Imago DEI? Imago DI? I guess that's what making God in his image means. In Genesis, the image often implies it. We read that. In Genesis, the phrase is followed by God giving humans dominion over the earth. This suggests that humans are created to represent God's authority, acting as stewards of creation, managing it with care and wisdom. Number 4, relational nature. Some theologians emphasize that the image theologians some people that study religion emphasize that the image of God includes the capacity for relationships, both with God and with other humans. Since Christianity often describes God as relational, Trinity in Christian theology, humans reflect this by being inherently social and capable of love and community. Dignity and value. Being made in God's image implies that every human has inherent worth and dignity regardless of status, abilities, or actions. This forms the basis for many religious teachings on human rights and equality. Being made in God's image implies that every human has inherent worth and dignity regardless of status, abilities, or actions. That's a beautiful way to put it, Grok. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Now we know. I mean, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm reading this thing. Maybe that's something that my daughters get from me and my dear buddy Grok here. Whenever that's how they're gonna see me whenever I go, is just sitting here super Googling and looking up stuff, but maybe they'll have the same questions I do, and I'll be right here for them. Let's see. Let's get back to this thing. Where did we get to? We was talking about God's image. I know that it's right here somewhere. Yep, humans made in God's image. Covenant and redemption. God promises to Abraham land, descendants, and blessings. Form the backbone of Genesis narrative, showing his commitment to restore humanity despite sin. The covenant extends through Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, foreshadowing Israel's role in Christian theology. Christ's universal blessing. God works through imperfection. The patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, are deeply flawed, deceivers, doubters, and betrayers, yet God uses them to fulfill his purpose, illustrating his grace and providence. Why it matters. Genesis addresses universal questions. Where did we come from? Why is there suffering? What is our purpose? While providing a theological framework for the rest of Scripture, its story of failures... While providing a theological framework for the rest of Scripture, its stories of faith, failure, and redemption remain relevant, offering hope and meaning across cultures and eras. The text's literary depth and historical connections make it a profound bridge between ancient history and modern faith. Genesis is not just a beginning, but a lens for understanding God's character, human nature, and unfolding story of redemption. It challenges readers to trust in God's promise, reflect on their own flaws, and see his hand in life's complexities, making it timeless and transformative text. So that's the end of Genesis. I relate to that much more than, I guess, the chapters 1 through 11. I can relate to the part where it says that he uses flawed individuals for his purpose. That's where it brings me back. And that's where the story starts to make sense for me a little bit more, especially when it comes to getting into the New Testament. And literally, I don't know, literally just changing your life for the better, I guess. I literally just rambled when I was talking just then. I am totally understanding that whenever I talk, I'm just a rambler. Rambler man. I'm going to read the facts. I'd like to know more about the history of this. Hopefully it has some stuff in there. I never read these, so we'll see what we got. Let's go back to the desktop. Genesis contains the oldest known genealogy. So I just want to sit in that for a second. Genesis 5 and 10 provide some of the earliest recorded genealogies in human history, tracing humanity from Adam to Noah and beyond. The ages listed are extraordinary and have sparked debate about whether they are literal or symbolic. Some scholars suggest these long lifespans reflect an ancient understanding of time or divine blessing, while others propose they align with Sumerian king lists, which also record unusual long reigns, hinting at a shared cultural memory in the ancient Near East. Wow. I never even would have thought of that. The Sumerians were a civilization that was basically before all of that. And they were basically wiped out, I think. Dumb man right here. That's one. I'm going to admit that at the moment. That's one of those moments where I'm a dumb man. I don't know 100% who the Sumerians were. That's one of the ones that I'd love to read about. The creation account mirrors ancient cosmologies but stands apart. The Genesis 1 creation narrative, 6 days resting on the seventh, share structural similarities with other ancient Near Eastern creation stories, like the Babylonian Emunah Elish, which describes God forming the world from chaos. However, Genesis is unique in its monotheistic focus. One God creates effortlessly by his word, not through conflict with other deities. This radical departure challenged the polytheistic worldview of its time, asserting a single sovereign creator. Also, when it comes to gods, that makes more sense to me as well, as having one God over everything. Not one God over love, and one God over the stars, and one God over the moon, and one God over the ocean. If we would have went that way, then they're cool. Zeus is a cool god. I love Marvel, but clearly, they're Marvel comics. Having a god that creates everything to me makes more sense. So here we are reading about it. Genesis 3:15 is considered the first gospel, which we kind of went over that. The first, I will put enmity between you. I can never say that word. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers, he will crush your head and you will strike his heel. Is often called the proto-evangelium. Many there's that word. Many theologians see it as the earliest biblical hint of the Messiah who will defeat evil, pointing to Jesus and pointing to Jesus in Christian theology. The subtle promise embedded so early in Scripture is mind-blowing for its foreshadowing of redemption across the entire Bible. I like how it's. So I did kind of glance over these, and it likes to, whenever I give me mind-blowing facts, it has to tell me how everything is mind-blowing in it, and I thought it was silly. The flood story has global parallels. Yes, please tell me this story. This is great. The Noah's Ark narrative has striking parallels and flood stories from cultures worldwide, including the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, which I'd like to read, and ancient traditions from China, India, and Mesoamerica. These stories often describe a great flood, a chosen survivor, and an ark or boat. The similarities suggest a shared human memory of a catastrophic event, making Genesis account both unique and part of the broader ancient narrative tradition. Another story where something that's the best evidence right there that something bigger happened. A big story, a big flood probably definitely happened. There's too many stories about it. And it's weird that there's in a bunch of these traditions all over the world, Mesoamerica, China, India, Jerusalem, I guess, Israel, yeah. There are stories about a flood and a person and a boat, and they're chosen by whoever. So yeah, a flood probably did happen, and we got a beautiful story out of that. And then we're back to square one, and then we're back to the thick of what the story actually is about. The Tower of Babel explains linguistic diversity. Genesis 11 describes the Tower of Babel, where God confuses human language to scatter people. Modern linguistics estimate that there are 7,000 languages today, and the story offers an ancient explanation for their diversity. Interestingly, the ziggurat-like structure described resembles real Mesopotamian towers, grounding the story in a historical context while addressing a universal human question: why do we speak so many languages? That's actually a really good question. It's probably in this book. I mean, I'm looking forward to that's. I bet there's some answers in here, and we'll go over those answers. And I'm excited to do that. I can't wait. We're almost done. We were halfway through the mind-blowing facts. Abraham's covenant has astronomical promises. In Genesis 15:5, God tells Abraham his descendants will be as numerous as the stars. Modern astronomy estimates there are over 100 billion stars in the Milky Way alone. And ancient observers could see about 3,000 to 5,000 stars with the naked eye. This promise, made to the childless man, is staggering in its scale and underscores the miraculous nature of God's covenant, fulfilled through the vast descendants of Israel, and in some interpretations, spiritual heirs. Joseph's story foreshadows Egypt's historical power. Joseph's rise to power in Egypt aligns with historical periods through when foreigners like Hyksos held significant roles in Egypt. The detailed depiction of Egyptian culture. All right, this is me. This is reading fatigue. We're going to do it again. Sorry, guys. Joseph's story foreshadows Egypt's historical power. I'm going to have to blow this up and go to the main because it's really small, and I'm going to read it like that. There we go. Joseph's story foreshadows Egypt's historical power. Joseph's rise to power in Egypt aligns with historical periods when foreigners like Hyksos held significant roles in Egypt. The detailed depiction of Egyptian culture, storehouses, dream interpretations, and Pharaoh's authority matches archaeological evidence of Egypt's administrative sophistication. The story's historical plausibility combined with its theological depth, God's providence through suffering, makes it a remarkable blend of narrative and history. So, it's only a little bit when it comes to the creation part that I talk about. When it comes to, so I want to give you, I want to give people a little more credit than they deserve. Like when it comes to the Bible, like you can start to believe that some of this, even, but then again, even with this stuff, you can. I guess I'll just make my thought like when it starts aligning with stuff, with history, it's easier to believe, even though it's still just it seems like it seems like the mythology of it is going away, which when it comes to the Torah, and which is, the 5 books in the Old Testament, I think it's the 5 books. I have to really be careful what I say whenever I'm talking on this, because I don't want to be wrong, and I'm trying to do my best not to be wrong at all. But yeah, the mythology sort of starts to slip away the more and more you read. And when it comes to the Old Testament and the New Testament, it doesn't really matter as much about the Old Testament, because God kind of Jesus flips the Old Testament on its head, and just really changes the game of, what God's trying to say. So yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter if, the creation is not completely how we read it in the Bible, because Jesus is just going to, like I said, just completely turn it on its head and make more sense. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Every time Jesus talks about, what's being said in the Old Testament, he just makes it better and more easily digestible. So really, it doesn't, take the Old Testament, with a grain of salt, and let Jesus kind of do the work after. Where are we at? Genesis uses sophisticated literary structures. Genesis is not just a collection of stories, but a carefully crafted text. It implies a chiastic structure in stories like the flood, where events build up to a climax and then reverse. The repetition of phrases like "these are the generations of" organizes the book into sections, showing deliberate literary design that's impressive for an ancient text. This whole book's pretty impressive for an ancient text, to be completely honest. I mean, I wonder if there's a book about how the Bible was conscripted. Is that a word, conscripted? Yeah, I think so. How the book was made. Did I just make up a word, conscripted? No, that's a word. Don't be dumb, Richard. Don't be dumb. What is conscripted? Refers to being forcibly enrolled and yeah, conscripted refers to being forcibly enrolled or drafted into military services by a government or authority, often against one's will. Well, that's not the word that I was talking about. It is a word, though, but that's not the word I was talking about. The number 7 is everywhere. The number 7, symbolizing completion in biblical thought, permeates Genesis. God creates in 7 days. Noah takes 7 pairs of clean animals, and Jacob serves 7 years for each wife. This recurring motive, tied to divine order, adds a layer of symbolic depth that ancient readers would have noticed, reinforcing the theme of God's purposeful design. Last one. Genesis addresses universal human questions. Genesis tackles profound questions. Where did we come from? Why is there suffering? What is humanity's purpose? In a way that resonates across cultures and eras. Its answers, creation of God, sin is the root of suffering, covenant is hope, are delivered in a narrative accessible to ancient nomads and modern readers alike. The fact that a text from thousands of years ago still shapes global religious thought is mind-blowing in itself. The fact that a text from thousands of years ago still shapes global religious thought. Yes, I agree, Grok. It is mind-blowing in itself. Well, hell, there we go. We have finished the book of Genesis. That was fun. I feel like I did a better job. And it's kind of, what a good way to start a show. And as imperfect as it went, it didn't go nearly as well as what God could do in 7 days. But we get it. We did it. We're here, and we are, and it was fun. And we will get back into the Bible after we finish Sapiens, which I think is a 6-week course. I have it here, what we'll be reading. If anybody wants to read along, let me... I know I have it. I apologize, guys. Just bear with me. We got it. Here's the thing that I asked for. So the structure of what this is going to be is very Bible themed, but it isn't completely about the Bible. So I asked, I said, give me a book that relates, but is different to the book of Genesis, historically, psychologically, philosophically, and politically. And that's when Sapiens came up, and why it relates to Genesis. Like Genesis, Sapiens explores the origins of humanity, tracing the development of Homo sapiens from prehistoric time to the modern era. While Genesis uses a theological narrative, Harari implies a scientific and historical perspective, examining how biology, culture, and cognition shaped human society. So we're going to have two different perspectives on this now, and we'll be able to talk in both perspectives. That's my hope anyway. And then I asked it to do the same thing for which actually give me a weekly book club reading, and we'll do that real quick. So week 1 is part 1, the cognitive revolution, which is chapters 1 through 4. So we'll be reading chapters 1 through 4, which covers the cognitive revolution, human evolution and developments of language, culture, and shared myths. An animal of no significance to the legend of Piguot? Peugeot. And then whenever I asked it to do Exodus as well. And it gave me the book. What is the book? The Social Contract by Jacques Rousseau. I don't know that word. I don't know who that person is. So yeah, that's it. We're finished. We'll read chapters 1 through 4 of Sapien, and we will come back next Thursday, and we will talk about that. And I think that is going to I think that's going to structure the show a little better once we start getting into more stuff. And I think that getting into different books while reading while going with the books of the Bible it won't make me rely so much on I guess I'll just be smarter reading this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole plan, is to just smarten up, shape up. It's you're a 4-year-old man. Like, nobody's ever really given you the answers, and there's people that have better answers than you do. So figure them out and get on it. So yeah, I'm finished, guys. See you guys next week. Bye.